you see that letter from the attorney Durkin about the waste management thing?
What is it, these still on?
Waste management is apparently hired them to cut that money. You have sent them a letter, I think they're, I think they're wrong.
I'd like to call the 7 PM work session to order. Can I get a roll call of the Township Committee, please, Nancy?
Absolutely. Mr. Boonstra?
Here.
Ms. Fisher?
Here.
Ms. Rubenstein?
Here.
Mr. Madigan?
Here.
Mr. Shanley?
Here. Reading of the open work session statement, please.
Please take notice that in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, NJSA 10:4-6 et sec, and in consideration of Executive Order Number 103, issued by Governor Murphy on March 9, 2020, declaring a state of emergency in the state of New Jersey, the Township Committee of the Township of Wyckoff does hereby notify the public that to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our citizens while ensuring the continued functioning of government, the meeting of the Township Committee of the Township of Wyckoff, scheduled for 7 p.m. Tuesday, June 16th at Wyckoff Town Hall, 340 Franklin Avenue, Wyckoff, New Jersey, 07481, will be conducted via the Township of Wyckoff's YouTube channel. And members of the public may call 201-891-7000, extension 222, should they wish to provide public comment during the 7 p.m. public comment period. These measures are implemented to allow members of the public to observe the meeting via live streaming and to provide the ability to comment during the period for public comment during the meeting. Due to the COVID-19 public health emergency, members of the public will not have access to Town Hall. General instructions regarding access to the meeting will be posted on the Wyckoff website's homepage at wyckoff-nj.com as a news item on Friday, June 12, 2020 at 4:30 p.m. To view the live stream Township Committee meeting, please access the YouTube link, which will be posted on the Wyckoff website's homepage at wyckoff-nj.com as a news item immediately prior to the commencement of the meeting at approximately 6:55 p.m. on June 16, 2020. To be notified of all future live stream Township meetings, please create a YouTube account and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Township of Wyckoff. This regular work session meeting of the Wyckoff Township Committee is now in session. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, notice of this meeting appears on our annual schedule of meetings. A copy of said annual schedule has been posted on the bulletin board in Memorial Town Hall. A copy has been filed with the municipal clerk, as well as the Record, the Ridgewood News, and the North Jersey Herald and News, all newspapers having a general circulation throughout the Township of Wyckoff. At least 48 hours prior to this meeting, the agenda thereof was similarly posted, filed, and mailed to said newspapers.
Thank you. I see that the Finance Committee has reviewed and signed the vouchers.
They are there.
Thank you.
have.
Okay. Can I get a motion to open for 10 minutes public comment, 2 minutes per speaker for public comment on any governmental issue that a member of the public feels may be of concern to the residents of the Township of Wyckoff?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Well, go ahead, pick it up.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Mayor Shanley?
Yes. Okay, we are now open for public comment. Can you state your name and address for the record?
Timothy Buckman, 430 Mere Avenue.
Hello, Mr. Buckman.
Good evening. I haven't been able to see the video yet, but I decided to dial.
Okay, you're right on time.
Thank you. I'm under 2 minutes, so I'm speaking during the work session. The First Amendment to the Constitution came up at the June 11th committee meeting. I think it's important to understand that a voluntary letter from a house of worship inquiring about their plans for an event is a plea for leadership. This country is hungry for leadership. One of the tragedies of not getting leadership is the failure to normalize masks and social distancing as civic behavior for all. That will cost many more lives in 2020. The fact is that our state governor has placed binding public health rules on religious sanctuary capacities. Government has a, quote, compelling interest, unquote, in regulation of public health. Those two words affect current interpretation of the capital E Establishment Clause, which hundreds of people in 200 years have spent their entire lives studying and commenting on. I'm really glad that a religious organization sought guidance on their public behavior. It's a model for other citizens who are about to make unexpected use of their properties that may disrupt other people's lives in a pleasant little Dutch farming community that avoids four-way stop signs. It's unfortunate that ginned-up fear of being seen as anti-religious harmed our committee's intent to faithfully do its job as it normally does. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Buckman, for your comments.
Okay.
Have a good night. All right, if there's anyone else who wants to make public comment, call 201-891-7000, extension 222. Hearing no one, can I get a? Yeah, maybe we should wait.
It's a 10-minute.
Yeah, it's 7:08 right now. If you want to
Start
wait.
at 7:05. Give it 2 minutes.
Give it 2 more minutes. I'll say the number one more time, 201-891-7000, extension 222.
Can I ask a quick question about this? Or do I have to wait? Just while we're waiting?
I think we can go away.
I was just curious. It says you really can only use black pen to fill out your ballots.
Yes.
Are they invalidated if you don't use black pen?
Yes.
Yep.
Wow. Okay.
Really?
Also, don't tear that little flap off the envelope. That's also
No,
invalid.
that they said.
That,
but
yeah, said, but I didn't,
Black
I'm not
pen,
even
I
sure,
mean-
I'm not sure what pen I used. I didn't
I
pay
don't know what
attention
pen
to
I
it.
used.
It says it in the instruction, that instruction folio.
And also overfill the circle, don't underfill it. If you underfill it, it might not count.
They should have done like number 2 pencil, like Scantron in school.
You use black, passed it over to lovely Mary Madigan.
At least they didn't have a hanging Chad.
All the more reason to have a voting machine election in November.
Yep. All right, 7:10 now.
Okay, Mayor, hearing no one else, and with the understanding there is another opportunity at the 8 o'clock meeting for public comment, I make a motion that we close public comment for the work session.
Second.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Mayor Shanley?
Yes. Bob, can we review the 8 PM business meeting agenda?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, thank you. The agenda was posted on Friday, June 12th, with resolutions and ordinances that will be considered. We received an ordinance today from Mr. Landell, ordinance number 1917, which addresses a conversation had at the last meeting regarding a zoning ordinance amendment to address the requirement for parking related to barber shops, beauty salons, massage parlors, therapy, tanning salons, and light personal care from one space per 50 square feet to one space per 200. I I instructed Nancy to modify the agenda. I just assumed after last meeting's discussion that you would want to introduce it. It's a zoning ordinance, which means it must go to the planning board to be considered at their meeting on July 8th. And then the governing body can have a public hearing and further consider it on their next meeting, which is July 21st. However, the decision is yours. If you think it requires further discussion, it can always be removed.
We can hold it, the only change is, we struck out 50, and we put in 200. Everything else
Okay.
is exactly the same.
I think that makes sense.
I also want to mention, since last meeting, I had a communication from the Bergen County Community Development Office Director. Every 3 years, the Township of Wyckoff considers a shared service agreement where it participates in that program and allows us to apply for grants. On the agenda this evening is a resolution which authorizes inclusion in a program and a resolution which executes the 3-year agreement. So that's why there's 2 resolutions which look very similar or as if they're for the same action. We do have a closed session this evening, which means that which means the open work session, when we're done, will be recessed. After the completion of the 8 p.m. business meeting, the work session will reconvene. Any reports can be completed. A closed session discussion will be taken, and then we'll re-enter the open work session portion and adjourn from the open work session portion. And that reflects the comments I wanted to make relative to the 8 p.m. business agenda, and I'll take any questions.
Anyone have any questions?
No.
Thank you, Bob. Do you want to move on to the policy action items?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to just review a couple things if I could. First item is under the category of election administration. Tonight, the municipal clerk's office is staffed to 9 p.m. for anybody who wishes to register to vote. Nancy Cole, our clerk, put together a very well-written and attractive social media post which addresses your request from last week that talks about the more detailed aspects of the election, which will be on July 7th. Approval is requested to begin to post that effective tomorrow. I don't know if there was any other questions in relation to that. It very clearly says that the voting machines are for individuals who are disabled at the polls. So if that meets with your approval, we will post that tomorrow. I think it's a useful and helpful social media post.
If I have a question, can I ask it?
Sure.
The only question I did have, and maybe you don't know it, another point 2, all active, undeclared, unaffiliated, and all inactive Republicans, Democrats, and undeclared will receive an application to apply for a primary ballot. Who determines who's inactive? The county?
Yes. It's either the.
And do we know what the definition is? You haven't voted in 2 years, 3 years, moved away 10 years ago? Is there any way we can find out, just for clarity going forward?
I just had the elections class, and I believe that it is if you haven't voted in 2 presidential elections.
Okay, thank you.
Consecutive.
Right.
So,
But they're still gonna send them an application to sign up again, maybe even whether they moved or what, it just automatically they do it?
To the last known address.
It seems like we spend lots and lots of money. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so Any others on that? And I'll move to the next item. The next item I have is, I had a request from Chief Murphy for a clarification on ordinance 1916. That is not being further considered this evening. It'll be further considered on July 21st. His question was essentially, does item 3 in the ordinance amendment refer to the tow-along message trailer or the mobile units that are attached to telephone poles, similar to the one that's in front of Coolidge School?
I'm going to talk to Rob about this before. Was that the original language we had on 3? I thought the language we had was similar to 1. Maybe it was a clarification that just further muddied the water that we did. I'm not sure here. I don't have my original with me.
I'll give it to you, Rob.
Bob shows it to me. I'll take a look.
Number 3, and this was his question.
I understand Dave's question, it's a good question.
I mean, so just explain, maybe you guys can help me understand, what's the difference between the two signs that he's talking about? Traffic messaging signs are portable speed enforcement signs. To me, it's the same, so I don't know.
Yeah, but we never talked about messaging signs for this ordinance. Well, he's concerned about the little signboard trailer they tow around.
The sign that's in front of Town Hall,
And it says a message.
it says Town Hall's closed.
Yeah, a little
Strong.
town hall's closed, and they put traffic,
Sometimes they
they
move
put one at the
around,
Reformed Church to, hang your cell phone up, or,
stop for pedestrians and
yeah, all those sorts
crosswalks.
of
That
things.
wasn't, yeah,
Click it or
that wasn't
ticket.
in this ordinance.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
those different
We
messages.
usually, that's a portable sign, and we usually don't get into,
What's an illuminated traffic messaging sign?
That's the speed calming sign,
Right,
like
that's-
slow down.
Can't this one say
You're
the same
good.
thing? What's the difference?
This one is used for a lot of different things. That one only says the two things. The
Yeah.
speed, the
It's good.
portable trailer one can say whatever we want it to say.
we advertise the fireworks on them.
Right. Yeah, it could say slow down.
Well,
I mean, I was trying to, in my mind, I was encompassing everything. If you want to carve
Yeah.
out for the portable sign
Yeah.
that they move around.
I think it's a
I just
totally
have to-
different thing.
I just have to understand it enough to know how to distinguish it
Okay.
in the English language, and then that's,
One is portable, the others are fixed.
okay, all right. Well,
Then the portable ones are message boards to
then I
me.
can just put fixed in front of illuminated. Fixed illuminated traffic
Well, then-
messaging signs.
But
Yeah.
they may not be fixed.
They are fixed, though.
We're gonna put in fixed ones, but the other ones that move from place to place, so they're fixed for a
The first
period of
ones
time,
we
but they're
bought were
movable.
portable from pole to pole.
Right, they're able to be moved.
Are they all mounted on a pole, whether they're portable or not?
Yeah,
Yeah.
So you want to just put pole mounted illuminated traffic signs?
That would cover it.
You
So we're
wouldn't
gonna
say they're
change the-
speed?
Hmm?
You wouldn't say they're pole-mounted speed enforcement?
Well,
Because they
yeah.
say your speed.
but the message boards, in my opinion, are message boards. Wouldn't that be the easier way? This does not.
I don't
include
think we
message
need to
boards?
take time tonight to hash it. I think we can work it out.
Okay.
Robin, this is my,
This one,
This is my bright idea anyway, so.
The messaging boards, I think it's just gonna talk
Yeah.
about the mounted speed controls.
Yeah.
That's something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
okay.
okay, the next item is last meeting, we had a discussion regarding whether the committee was interested in a bamboo ordinance or an ordinance which would prohibit bamboo plants. That has to be forwarded to the Shade Tree
Right.
Commission. I think my recollection is that the committee expressed an interest in such an ordinance. The next time that could be developed and drafted by Mr. Landell would be for introduction at the July 21st meeting. And I
When
would-
is Shade Tree meeting?
Not till
Between-
September. I don't think Shade Tree meets till September now.
Bamboo is not a shade tree. Does it have to go to shade tree?
You are correct, it's not a shade tree, it doesn't have to go there, but I think that was a suggestion last meeting to get their
The shade tree commission, I mean, they review landscaping plans for projects and things, that, it's not just trees. So, I mean, I think it would be appropriate for them to look at this and give us some advice as to what the pitfalls of having bamboo planted around town are.
So I'm gonna wait until I hear from them before I start drafting anything?
Is time of the essence on this? Are people planting bamboo all over town?
No, the impetus of this was a resident who sent in a request through the request for non-emergency service and
Okay.
was inquiring if the township prohibited bamboo.
Okay.
And,
I don't think time is of the essence here.
Maybe you could advise them that,
I mean, I would prefer
Don't
to have,
plant it.
I would prefer to get an opinion from the shade tree
I would too.
commission members, who also handle other plantings and landscape plants, et cetera, et cetera.
Deer-resistant trees, bushes.
okay, we will do that,
I'll
so,
wait till I start drafting.
okay. So we're probably looking to introduce that well, excuse me, the earliest it could be, well, the earliest it could be considered by the committee will be the second meeting in September. Okay, the next item is, I just wanted to mention that I did send a reply to the scout who requested to build a memorial. So that was sent. I just wanted to check with the governing body for the purpose of clarity. Our new procedure, I believe, is working well regarding postings, sending it to the governing body and obtaining your input. Tomorrow, I will be sending you 14 social media posts that have been developed by Denise that we've been working on for a while that address various aspects of recycling. Everything from wax paper cartons to pizza boxes to plastic bags. So I will send that tomorrow. If you could reply, that would be great.
Bob, just a question, there's 14 of them?
Yes,
You said you've been working on it for a while?
yeah.
So it asked that you give us longer than 3 hours to respond?
Okay. All right, sure.
Would that be fair?
Sure, sure, that'd be sure. How long would you like?
A couple of days, day and a half. I don't know what the pleasure of the rest of the committee, it's my opinion.
I'll be happy to do that, Tom.
What's that, the review,
I just
To
made a
review the
point.
14,
Nancy, a couple of people just
items they've been
messaged
working
me
on.
that our meeting is showing up as private, it's not streaming on YouTube. Just wanna see if we can fix it.
I got a couple of texts of the same thing,
Yeah.
but
Okay, somehow it got that on, I didn't change the setting, it just did that itself. That should fix it.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, so we will do that, Tom.
thank you.
The next item I had is we had a request from the Coastal Fly Rodders to use the Larkin parking lot for their monthly meeting. They indicated in there they would stay the appropriate distance and wear face masks. I did research and found out that they had paid a whole year's use to use the house, to use the interior of the Larkin house. They're not asking for that, but they are requesting to meet in the parking lot and stay 6 feet apart from each other.
Are there any trash cans or anything in the parking lot?
Any what?
Trash cans or anything?
No, I believe there's none.
Okay.
We can put one out there if you'd like to.
I mean, I think if we're gonna start holding meetings in the parking lot, which I think is a good idea, but it would be good to have a trash can out there.
How would you like me to respond back to them?
I have no problem
I'm
with it.
fine with
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, no
it's
problem.
fine.
I think they can use it,
Okay,
because the police are no longer using the Larkin house.
yes, yeah.
They're back to normal operations.
There is. It's a 5-acre park. Okay, a couple other things. I had provided an analysis of the grant requirements to obtain in the steps the Bergen County open space for the Maple Lake land acquisition. So I provided that. Everybody received a copy of that. I sent a request to Rob Landell to respond to the waste management letter. I did want to point out to you that as of June 8th, the clerk's office responded to 263 OPR requests.
How many?
263. Last year, in 2019, they responded to 619. And the next meeting is July 21st, and then after that is August 4th. And I just wanted to mention that in the packet was my written report of non-essential projects. And I believe that's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, we'll turn to a report of the Township Committee. I'll start on this end this time. Beth, you want to start?
Sure. I wanted to thank the staff for staying open late to facilitate voter registration, and for putting together, Nancy, this very detailed bullet point of a very kind of complicated, lots of information regarding the vote by mail, so thank you for that. Also to the library and their staff, I'm very excited for curbside pickup. That's great that that's opened up. I attended the Environmental Commission Zoom call last night. I also attended the Sustainable Jersey Bergen Hub collaboration with, I believe it was Hudson County Hub, regarding backyard composting. It was extremely well attended. I think they said over 70 people logged into the Zoom webinar, so backyard composting is, people are interested. And I mentioned that I have sold 15 so far, so hopefully that'll generate some more interest. Eisenhower is doing a nice job with their virtual promotion celebration, and just a shout out to my son who is graduating, so it's been nice this week, all that attention on them. The Board of Ed meets next Monday virtually, so I'll be attending that. Also just wanted to thank the Outdoor Dining Subcommittee and Fred and Chief of Police and everybody who was involved in getting that up and running. Looks like some of our restaurants have set up some really nice and creative seating, so get out there and support them. And I mentioned this at the Environmental Commission meeting, but I just wanted to include this in my report. Eisenhower has put a lot of focus on their community garden, and it's outside the building, so if you haven't seen it, it's looking really good. A lot of local families have adopted some of the raised beds and are planting produce, and some of them are planning to donate that to food banks at the end of the summer. So that's looking really good. I was out there today. And that's my report.
Thank you. Melissa?
Sure. Along the same lines of graduations, today was kindergarten graduation in Wyckoff. So Lucas and TJ graduated. And congratulations to all the kindergartners. Zoning Board of Adjustment is meeting this Thursday via Zoom. So hopefully this will be the last Zoom one. Hoping to get back into the courtroom. I attended the company meetings at Fire Company 1, 2, and 3 last week. So everybody, they had them in person and on Zoom. So I was able to see a lot of the firefighters who I hadn't been able to see for a few months, and want to thank them and our police and all our first responders for really coming to the calls and really being there for our community in the last 3 months. We really owe them a debt of gratitude. Also, really happy to see the tents out for outdoor dining. They look great. I've heard they're garden-like settings that people are really enjoying. So get out there, support the local restaurants. And just want to say the turf field looks like it's coming along great, so I'm excited to hear an update on that. That's it.
Thank you, Melissa. Tom?
That was timely. Okay, a couple of quick things. Outside dining, I think we're all thrilled in town. I know Tim and I were on the subcommittee, and I think business people, police and code enforcement, Fred Debkins worked pretty hard to do what they could to facilitate outside dining. It began on Monday. I had the pleasure of going to Aldo's for an inaugural lunch under the tent. So it was an event under the tent at Aldo's, very nice. And as Wall echoed, hopefully all our residents and neighbors can support our local restaurants and businesses. And I know that currently Aldo's has a tent, is outside, the Brick House is outside, Blue Moon and Howie is all set up outside. The Indian restaurant at Boulder Run is almost ready to go. I know Jersey Mike's is outside dining. The barn is all ready to go, if they haven't already started, with a nice area in the back. And I believe we're still working on one other application for Cafe Amici. I don't know if I left any out, Bob, but those are the ones that come to mind. But any restaurant, whether you're doing outside dining or not, if you could support them, we've been fortunate. We've had great community support of all of our restaurants and takeout facilities. Memorial Field. So the Memorial Field Recreation project is well underway. Things are going very well. And as of right now, we're just waiting for the carpet. So all the site work, all the cement work, the wall on one side, the foundation for the walking path that goes through there is pretty much set to go. And we're waiting for the carpet, then that'll be sewn in and put down. And we're still targeting the end of June, so hopefully we'll be on this side of July 4th. If not, it'll be a great celebration, but we're very, very close. The scoreboard has been ordered. So again, thank you to the generosity of Lakeland Bank. And we did some fine tuning at the last minute to make sure we're all in sync with colors and layout, and all went well. So I also want to thank, tonight we have thank you donations on our agenda, but I know it's part of our consent agenda, so I'd just like to call out, we have players' benches that were donated by our softball and baseball boosters group. There was a softball mound and bases that was donated for the girls' softball boosters. And again, the mound is done because of the shoes they're doing, so you're not tearing into the carpet. So we really appreciate that donation. And then baseball mound was donated by Teal's Baseball School and Teal's Ravens Baseball. So again, appreciative to all those that continue to either donate financially or financially through goods, and it's greatly appreciated. We're going to have a lot of youngsters in town. I think the last time we counted was about 1,900 that will be enjoying these outside facilities, and things are going well. I'm not sure if I added the last time, but in case I didn't, we did add to the fields sprinklers with specially designed heads on them. So not only should you need to cool the field down on a very hot day, but it also has the ability with these heads to literally wash the field. I think we mentioned it the last time, but people are pretty excited about that, particularly in these times. 6 months ago, we probably wouldn't have even thought of it, but it's very, very timely, and I think it's going to be beneficial to all the athletes. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Rudy?
Thank you, Tim. To start, excuse me, I have the honor of asking the blessing or the invocation tonight, on tonight's business meeting. And I just want to mention now that before we begin that, I'm going to ask for a moment of silence. There was a funeral this morning for a former firefighter, Pete Warnett. Now, Pete was longtime member of the Wyckoff Volunteer Fire Department. He was a former deputy chief of Company 1 and a lifetime member of the department, and he passed away at the age of 82. But the reason I'm mentioning it now is Pete had two brothers. John, who has passed away, was also a volunteer, and his brother Lou is a former chief of Company 2 and can be found over at Company 2 any Monday night if you want to go say hello to him. So this was truly a family of volunteers, and I think we'll have a moment of silence tonight for Peter Warnett and his family. As Tom mentioned, he covered the Memorial Field project pretty well, and I want to thank he and Scott Fisher and Andy Wingfield and the folks at the high school and the Franklin Lakes Rec Department for indulging me and us, our little team, to look at different lights, scoreboard lights, and I think, as Tom mentioned, we've come up with a good solution. So I think we're fine with that. Planning Board, the last meeting, adopted the memorializing resolution denying the soil movement permit for the house on Voorhees Ave, which has been a great controversy over the last...
Van Houten, you mean?
I'm sorry, Van Houten Ave. Thank you, Tim. Over the last 8 or 10 months. So it has been denied as official. There may be another plan coming, but as of right now, it's in the ball is in the court of the applicant who is sitting on a denial. The next month's planning board, which is on the 8th, has nothing on the agenda, and I spoke to Bob today. We were thinking of, the chairman and Maureen were thinking of trying to schedule the Galasso application on Wyndham Court, which has been also hanging fire for about a year now. It's a very complicated application. There are a lot of witnesses, and it really can't be done at a virtual meeting or a Zoom meeting. So I spoke to Bob today, and we're going to try to, and this would be also, Melissa, a good test run for the zoning board next month, to have a live meeting, or at least a partially live meeting, so we can have the witnesses testify and have some part of the planning board in the courtroom here to conduct the meeting. So we look forward to trying to get that done. I too attended the Environmental Commission meeting via phone last night, and the only thing really that might be in our future is one of the junior commissioners is working on a resolution regarding a grid situation, which is a backup power generating facility for New Jersey Transit or commuter rail lines, and it's currently slated to be a natural gas plant, and the Environmental Commission is looking at possibly, or this junior commissioner is looking possibly at having a resolution opposing that for renewable fuel. And I think that's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Rudy. I will be brief. Rudy covered the planning board, so I don't need to cover that. Library board is meeting by Zoom tomorrow. The good thing is the governor on Friday announced at 1 p.m. that he was going to permit libraries to begin curbside pickup, which is a start to get the library open. Unfortunately, Laura Leonard had already set the schedule for, the employee schedule days before that, so we didn't have much warning. I think Laura's plan is to try to get the curbside started tomorrow, but we'll have a further meeting tomorrow to plan when the curbside will start for our Wyckoff Library. I did have a mayor's meeting today, a Zoom meeting, the typical ones that we would have, Bob, down in Hackensack, at the Coach Diner. But we did it by Zoom and listened to a bunch of different mayors and what their thoughts on everything were, which it went well. One of the things they did mention is that the League of Municipalities is still trying to plan the November event down in Atlantic City. Assuming it still could go forward. They're still trying to plan to have that event. So that's about all I can report on that, is they're looking to still have that event in November. we're in a much better place now in June than we were in April or March. We are coming down the mountain now. Today, New Jersey only had 313 new positives, which is a good sign. We've been under 500 positives now for about 4 days in a row, and under 1,000 for at least 2 weeks. So New Jersey is heading in the right direction, and it's heading in the right direction where we have further openings. Next week, barber shops and hair salons will be permitted to start, seeing customers again. And I know there's a lot of people that need haircuts, which will help. Also, rec sports can start practicing next week. So you'll see baseball and soccer. The guidelines on that are no contact. So that will not happen until June 6th. The guidelines came out that sports will most likely start on June 6th, and July 6th, where baseball games and soccer games will be allowed to be played again, unless we see further spikes and then further restrictions. But right now, we look like we're in a good situation where things are opening up, and maybe our kids and our high school kids can start playing a sport again. I do want to congratulate the fifth graders. I do have a fifth grader who graduated. It's unfortunate that there was no graduation other than they took a picture with the principal in the front of their school and then got back in the car, and that was the graduation. At least they had that. I look forward to my fifth grader going up to Eisenhower next year, and all the other fifth graders. I want to say congratulations, and sorry that it wasn't the fifth grade graduation or the experience that you thought you were going to have, like others have had. We're in a good situation where our non-essential stores were allowed to open today or Monday. So support the local businesses in town. They're allowed to see customers, our jewelry stores, our toy stores. Although the one that still hasn't opened was Marshall's. And I know a lot of people were upset that it hasn't opened yet, but that's probably one of their corporate decisions. So we are proceeding in a good way. So please make sure you support our local businesses. And I have nothing further. Does anyone else have anything further? So we need a motion to. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Rob. I'm sorry I cut you off. Our report of our township attorney.
I'll make it quick. You've got the amendment to the parking ordinance in front of you today, and that's just one small part that I think we've been talking about for a long time, so that maybe we'll get some momentum from this. But I also talked to Bridget as she's working on the reexamination. She's also going to go in and look at our off-street parking requirements, because my review of it certainly indicates that, the good amount of them are outdated, whether it's the use or the parking requirement for it. But she's the planner, so I would think, she gave me the suggestion, or gave us the suggestion for the 1 per 200 for the barber shops and salons. So, she's going to go through the whole outdoor or the off-street parking requirements and give recommendations for changes, see if we can simplify it. And that's really in large part from the expressions the Township Committee has given over the past, more than several weeks or months in looking to help your commercial, residential, your businesses in town. They've been hit with really struggles with being able to rent to retail, because as we all know, retail has died a lot because of the online shopping, and now with the pandemic, I think it's probably the appropriate time to move on it. So I've got her working on it. It's nice to hear tonight from Tom's report that the outdoor dining is working, and some of these restaurants now have already got the tents up, and I think that's a credit to Fred and the police department and the fire department for reviewing them and working on it as expeditiously as they can. I got a map. I've been waiting for a map. I got a map or a sketch for the easement we need for the sewer line extension to Morley.
Right.
So now that I have that, I have a picture, a plan that I can go to the residents with and say, this is what we're looking for. And the next step, there will be me getting the written easements. And I'll continue to pressure the owners of the Maple Lake property to get that subdivision map done. We got a little time, but I know we're getting the critical mass, so I'll continue to call their attorney and see if I get that map in so we can get the application in. And on Monday, the 22nd, I have an appointment for a haircut. First one I ever made. And I might even start shaving every day when I get that, so we got that going for us, so that's good. That's it.
Thank you. Does anyone else have anything further? I do
Just
want
to
to,
mention that when I drove here tonight, I swung by Aldo's just to check it out. Packed.
Right.
Which is a good sign, which is a good
That's awesome.
sign.
I was able
Yeah.
to go on Monday night and have dinner there in the parking lot under the tent. It was very nice.
Yeah.
I mean, the weather was perfect, it wasn't
Yeah.
hot, and it was great to be out sitting
Yeah.
outside my home to eat dinner,
Yeah.
which was very nice, and it was great to see that, Aldo has customers back, and I hope all the other customers are going to the other restaurants. I have reservations to go, see Eli's place outside on Friday to celebrate the 5th grade graduation of my son. So, yeah, hopefully people will help our restaurants.
Good. I think so.
Anything else, anybody? So what do we need? We need a motion
We're gonna
to
recess.
recess. Can I get a motion to recess the work session?
So move.
Second.
Mr. Boonstra?
Yes.
Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Ms. Rubenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Madigan?
Yes.
Mayor Shanley?
Yes. Okay, we will be back for the 8 PM business meeting. Is the camera still live?
Nancy, have we streaming?